Right. Okay. Just bear in mind, this is the first time that I have done one of these live streams. So I'm just going to give it a minute just to make sure that everything is working and everything is set up from my side. Okay, cool. Let's go for it. So my name is Leanne Makinson. I am the founder and director of a company called Hargreaves Training, Recruitment and Coaching. And the reason why I'm going to be doing these lives is to give SMEs more information in terms of how recruitment, when it's done properly, can have a huge impact on your organization. So I'll do a little bit of a whistle-stop tour in terms of who I am, my experience within recruitment, and then I'll go through a bit of housekeeping and what we're going to cover. It's not just going to be one kind of live. I'm going to do lives every single week because what one business struggles with, a lot of other businesses struggle with. And there are some really common challenges that I'm finding with businesses that all have the same problems but don't know how to resolve those problems. So my background started in recruitment back when I was 19. So I've been in the industry for over 2 decades, and I left school without any GCSEs, highly dyslexic, undiagnosed, ADHD, and I just didn't have the attention to let anything absorb while I was at school. So I went straight into customer service, hospitality, those kind of roles. When I was 19, I started working for a high street recruitment agency, and I loved it for the most part. Didn't really like the sales aspect and the commission, and I saw so many people getting sacked because they just didn't hit the commission structure. So after 4 years of working in that industry, I decided I love recruitment, but I didn't want to do sales anymore. So I started working in internal recruitment. And that for me is where my career in recruitment really just expanded. I worked for Empower for 5 years, and that really gave me a really good insight into when recruitment's integrated properly and people invest the time into it and they put strategies and systems and processes in place. And we had really big meetings every quarter to make sure that we were measuring results, to make sure that we were tweaking the process, to make sure that what we were doing was bringing in the right kind of candidates. And I absolutely love working at Empower. It really changed my life in terms of where I wanted a career to go because I'd never been given that option before. So after I was made redundant from Empower, I started on a lot of temporary and contract roles within recruitment, but I would kind of work my way up within each organization. I've done high volume recruitment, I've done graduate recruitment, I've done niche recruitment. The thing that I enjoy most about working internally when I used to work internally was building relationships with hiring managers and really being an anchor for them to understand how recruitment works. And I feel like what a lot of businesses do is they just palm recruitment off onto a hiring manager, whereas they've got their own job to do. And to do recruitment alongside their role, recruitment is intense, it's challenging, it's monotonous, it's doing the same thing over and over again, and it's highly focused on administration. So when you kind of don't give recruitment the time that it needs, it lacks all the elements that make it a really good process when you put that time and energy into it. So I kind of worked in internal recruitment for a good 12 years of my career, but I got towards the end of that last 3 years, and I got brought onto some pretty big organizations where I had big projects to do. I did those projects in half of the time, and I was an expensive person to have in the business if you don't have any recruitment. So I put my stamp on those organizations, but they waved me goodbye when they took what they needed. So I reluctantly set up Hargreaves Recruitment, and I set it up back in 2017. And for the first 4 years, I had such a brilliant experience. I earned more money than I've ever earned before. I worked for all the companies that made me redundant, and I really got to develop creating a business. You know, when we are self-employed recruiters, we're not just recruiters, we're building a business. And it really gave me more experience to my career that I'm really so fucking grateful for. But it got to a couple of years ago and something didn't feel right. I didn't just want to be a transactional recruiter anymore. Now, I added a lot of value when I was working with the business, but then once that candidate was in role and the client didn't need me anymore, I was like, oh, well, what next? Let me find another client, let me fill their role, let me add a bit of value. I could see all of the different elements of what that business is needed, but they just wanted to use me as a transactional recruiter. So I made the decision a couple of years ago to start really thinking about what I wanted out of my career and what I was able to offer people. So I invested into a business coaching qualification, which I absolutely loved. It gave me so much knowledge and experience, and it really helped me understand strategy more. And then I kind of ripped my business apart and stopped being a transactional recruiter. I think it was towards like the back end of last year. I was still being a transactional recruiter. I can remember getting a contract with a client and it sucked the soul out of me. It wasn't what I wanted to do. I was grateful for it, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. And the more that I carried on doing transactional recruitment, it just reinforced this message that that's not what I wanted to add value to a client with. So I rebranded Hargreaves Recruitment into Hargreaves Recruitment Training and Coaching. So I now train businesses on how to develop a strong recruitment foundation, which then kind of alleviates all the problems that they were having. So expensive one-off recruitment agency fees, or using the same old job boards that aren't producing the results that they used to get. And we really I kind of break their recruitment process apart, and then I put it back together again in a way that makes sense, in a way that gets them results. But I want to be able to give back as much as I can. So these are going to be the sessions that I go through with a client, because I know that not all businesses trust recruitment. I know that not all businesses know about recruitment, and I find that some businesses just don't have the budget. You've got operations managers that are itching to do stuff with recruitment, but the powers that be above, just farm it out to a recruitment agency. We can cover the cost that way. Whereas I'm desperate to get businesses to invest into recruitment on a deeper level so that they don't have to use a recruitment agency. And I'm not saying recruitment agencies are bad. Like if you've got one or two roles within your organization, use a recruitment agency, it makes sense. But if you've got multiple roles, I don't want that to be your only option. And I want to be able to give businesses more choice when it comes to recruitment as well. But by giving you that education, hopefully it'll start to make sense in terms of investing that time into a recruitment process will really help your business grow. So if you do have main common objection that I speak to people about at the moment is we don't have any plans for recruitment now, but we do have in 2025, get in touch with us then. And I'm like, A, I'm not a transactional recruiter, but B, using these 3 months now to really create a solid foundation in recruitment will change the game in terms of how your business grows. Whether this is going to be recorded or not, I absolutely don't know. I think I am good in technology in some ways. In other ways, I only just figured out how to use StreamYard yesterday. So if it's recorded, I'll be able to share it, because I think it would be really good for you to watch this back. So the things that we're going to cover today are the 3 most common challenges that businesses experience when it comes to recruitment. And then I'm going to talk to you about what's going to happen in the next few weeks, because what I'm going to do today is just talk to you a little bit in terms of the 3 common problems and a little bit more in terms of each of them. But over the next few weeks, I'm going to be able to give you a good, solid 15 to 20 minutes, more information on these specific topics. So if you can see me, if you can hear me, if you can just put a yes in the chat, that would be really helpful. So challenge number 1 is businesses still using recruitment strategies and job descriptions and processes that were created 5 to 10 years ago. I spoke to 2 specific companies over the last couple of weeks that are still using job descriptions that were created 8 years ago. Now, that's not going to be appealing to candidates. It's not going to be sexy, and it's not going to be a reflection of the actual role. Now, when it comes to making sure that, when it comes to making sure that we are working in this new world, it does include technology. It does include software. For me, I want to be able to use software to save me time. It's not going to take the human experience out of that, but there are certain things that we can use that do save time, that don't have to feel so foreign. Like yesterday, me trying to sort StreamYard out, I did have a little panic for a moment, but once I got used to it, it was really easy to integrate. And now I'm able to share this information with you. So when it comes to the things that I really encourage you to start having a look at, and over the next few weeks, I'll be able to kind of coach you through that, is job descriptions, careers pages, making sure that we have some form of presence on social media. Like, businesses been recruiting in 2014 and we're now in 2024, and we've been through this whole pandemic, and now we've got this whole surge of technology, and we need to really move with the times, look at the evolution of everything else that we kind of roll with, but recruitment doesn't get that time that it's needed to be invested into it. So what I strongly encourage you to really have a look at are the careers page that you've got. Has it got up-to-date information on it? The job descriptions that you've got, is it the right information? For me, a job description is a start, a middle, and an end. Who you are, what you need, what you're going to offer. It needs to be as simple as that. And again, I'm going to go through these over the next few weeks. But this is where we can really start to use AI to your advantage. And again, I'm going to show you how to do that over the next few weeks, because there's certain ways of you being able to talk to AI where it will, and there's something on ChatGPT that I use. So I invest into ChatGPT. I spend 20 quid a month on it. But now I've got a chatbot that's specifically for me. So I can feed it my website. I can feed it information that's relevant to me. I actually say to ChatGPT, I'm from Yorkshire. I'm not corporate. I want to be able to create this based on this, and I want it to have this information in. And 9 out of 10, now that I've played about with it and I've got the experience with it, it saves me time, saves me so much time. And someone that's highly dyslexic, I don't want to have to waste time writing reams of information when I can work with software that understands what I want to convey. Also, as well, like I was on a call with a client last week, and they were really struggling with recruitment. I looked at the careers page. I looked at their social media, and within a couple of minutes, I can really tell why businesses struggle, because there's someone that I get distracted quite easily. And if you put a lot of information in front of me in the form of words, I want to be able to scan that information so it can tell me what I need in a quicker amount of time. And I'll just give you a little bit of a nugget here. If you watch a TV program or a film, you can't count more than 7 seconds per scene. That is the attention span that we need to be able to attract someone with. So if you've got a job description and it's got 50 lines of what your business does, and it's got company jargon in it that no one really knows about, you need to start condensing that down. And we need to kind of move away from, yes, I've got a role, I'm going to put a job advert out and welcome to the masses. It's not like that anymore. We need to be making sure that we have an attraction strategy so that we're not just relying on one advert. We're not just relying on a recruitment agency. We're making sure that you're set up for success with the right information on job descriptions, with the right information on your careers page. And by using AI, it's really straightforward to be able to do that. Some of the other common challenges that businesses have is employer branding. Now, employer branding is a bit of a buzzword at the minute, but if you're not kind of sure what that is, employer branding is you having a presence on social media. And that needs to be congruent in terms of your careers page, in terms of social media, and in terms of you having a really strong message in terms of who your business is. And I'll just go back to this period of time here where people are like, well, we don't need anyone until 2025. Okay, cool. If you don't need anyone, that's absolutely fine. But why not spend that time now putting your efforts into your careers page, putting your efforts into social media? Both of these, you don't need to invest into anyone with it. When I mean social media, I mean making sure that you're posting out 3 times a week onto LinkedIn. And that could be as simple as who you are as a business, how you make an impact on the industry, get a testimonial from someone that works in your organization. Post that. That's a week's worth of content. And again, we can use AI to be able to create that. There are certain strategies that I use to be able to create a month's worth of content that's relevant to the people that I want to speak to, but it's still in my voice. Now, week 2, you could talk about maybe a company event that's happened in the organization. You could talk about what your recruitment process looks like. And then you could talk about a success that your organization's had, or you could be celebrating someone that's achieved something within your organization. I feel like when it comes to social media, we overcomplicate it, and we don't need to. There are really simple strategies that can help with your employer branding when it comes to attracting the right candidates. And that's another good tip in there as well. Is I spoke to someone yesterday and they've gone through my training, and one of the things that came out of the training was how important it is to attract aligned people, because what we used to do before is stick an advert out, open the floodgates and cherry pick from all the people that used to apply. It's not like that anymore. Now we have to make sure that we are positioning ourselves as an employer of choice within this industry. Then what we want to get it to is a place of aligning people to your organization. And this is why employer branding is so important, because it aligns the people that you want to bring into your organization. So we're not having to cherry pick from 3 applications it came from Indeed, because those are the only people that have applied. Now, don't get this twisted. It's not a quick fix that I'm talking to you about. It's consistent action. It's making sure that we are being proactive recruitment instead of reactive recruitment. And these businesses that have told me to come back to them in 2025, I know exactly what they'll do. They'll be like, oh shit, we need someone yesterday. Now let's put an advert out. Now let's speak to a recruitment agency. And it's so rushed. And you imagine if you rush recruitment from here, what's it going to be look like when you get to offer a candidate? And what's the message that is saying to that candidate about your business? Well, you're not really putting effort into your recruitment process, so you're going to actually put effort into me. Look at it from that perspective. I'm going to go back to employer branding. I do jump from topic to topic, but I always come back to, a very centered place, so bear with me. Employer branding. When we kind of add things into social media, that needs to be on your careers page as well. So if I was to buy something, I will have a look at reviews. Look at Amazon. You would never buy anything from Amazon. And if you do, I'm not going to judge you, but you'd never buy anything from Amazon if it had 1 or 2 stars. You'd avoid it like the plague. Same for TripAdvisor. If you go onto a website and you find a holiday, you go onto TripAdvisor, there you find the real information, and then you avoid that like the plague. When someone is looking at your organization, so they might have seen a job online, they're not going to immediately click yes until they've been nosy on your careers page. That for me needs to be interactive. It needs to have testimonials from people that work in your business. It needs to paint a picture in terms of who you are as an organization. And when you can link that to Glassdoor as well, because Glassdoor is a great way of you amplifying your employer brand. You can't hide behind Glassdoor. I worked with a business a few years ago in the legal sector. And as soon as I kind of did some research on their organization, I was like, I love the job and what you're asking me to do, but have you seen Glassdoor? And they were like, yeah, this is why we need you to come on board, because we want to be able to change the perception of our organization. They'd had a lot of bad managers in there. They'd had a lot of problems with hiring, and they wanted a recruitment expert to come in to be able to help them build a better foundation. Those reviews are never going to go off Glassdoor, but by the time I left that business, they were a 5-star business. I think they were 2.5 before, and they had some pretty bad reviews. But what we did is make sure that we put a strategy in place, and we made sure that the people that we're bringing on board, we were making them feel seen, heard, respected. And we did a lot of damage control with the current people in the organization to make sure that we were changing their mindset. The business were looking to change, and we needed to change the mindset of the people that had had pretty bad experiences. So when it comes to stuff like Glassdoor, use it to your advantage. You can build an employer brand on Indeed. You can build an employer brand on Glassdoor. We don't have to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds on recruitment, but it is an investment of your time. And it's small, daily or maybe weekly actions that will really lift the lid off all of the negativity that happens with recruitment. We can't expect recruitment to work when we don't put that time into it. But when we do put that little minuscule amount of time into it, and we chuck a shitty job description together, and we rush people through a process, we speak to a recruitment agency, send me 5 CVs without having a decent conversation with them, it's never going to work. And it might work for some organizations, but those are the organizations I typically wouldn't work with. And then other kind of areas that businesses struggle with is attracting candidates. Now, I spoke to a business the other week, and their only source of advertising was a very sector-specific job platform, and they were getting very little from it. My advice with this is utilize the job platforms. If you've got a subscription with them, fine. I wouldn't necessarily sign up for a subscription with a job platform because I think that they're oversaturated and I find that they're expensive for what they are. Now, I've used the majority of the job boards, and I think it's like the big 6. So you've got Total Jobs, you've got JobSite, you've got CV Library, etc. If all of the businesses in the UK are advertising in the same pot, all of the businesses are sourcing for candidates in the same pot, if they actually source, and all of the recruitment agencies are utilizing the same platforms, your job adverts aren't getting to the people that you need them to get to. Now, some solutions to that is making sure that your job descriptions are fit for purpose, making sure that when you're advertising for a job, I would personally use 3 different job titles, same job, and advertise it on several different platforms. 2, see what starts to come through. You want to start measuring your results. If we're just relying on one source, I would recommend using multiple sources for candidate attraction. So this can come down to the right SEO behind your website, search engine optimization, which I'm going to cover in further lessons. This can come down to using typical platforms that your candidates are going to be sat on. So when I say a lower level role, I don't mean that to be derogatory. I mean the lower level of the salary bracket and the higher level of the salary bracket. So a lower level to me is like minimum wage, anything up to like 25, 27, 28 grand. Typically, those kind of candidates are going to be sat on Facebook. And also as well, you have got a lot of pages on Facebook that are free to advertise jobs, especially for high volume minimum wage roles. Facebook is a great way to be able to utilize that, and it doesn't cost anything. But also as well, what you can do is put some spend behind an advert on Facebook, because with that, you are really able to tailor where that job goes. And I think you can do it on gender, demographics. You can be really specific in terms of what that advert goes under. And it's not massively expensive to advertise on Facebook. So I would really have a think about a spider web of attraction as opposed to just relying on one advertising strategy. Then measure the results. Because when we measure the results, we can start to reverse engineer the recruitment process. And when we reverse engineer the recruitment process, we know exactly what recruitment's going to spend, the activity that needs to happen, i.e. job platforms, adverts that need to go out, how many people we need to contact, all the way through to how many people that you're going to offer the role for. You know, the training that I deliver to businesses makes sure that they've got 2 people to offer a role to, not just 1, 2, because the market's changed. And what we don't want to do is put all of this work into a recruitment process and then either someone gets counter offered or they fall out of the process. So when it comes to advertising strategies, I encourage you to really have a look at other ways of recruiting. So if you don't want to sign up to a subscription, which I don't feel like you should have to do, Indeed's a great way of doing that. And you can manage your recruitment spend on Indeed as well. So a great hack that I used to use is to maximize my candidates is to advertise on a Wednesday, pull the advert, and I think it might cost me 20 quid, pull the advert, re-advertise it on a Friday, and then analyze my candidates on a Monday. And again, it might cost me 30, 40, 50 quid, no more than that. But that's a hell of a lot cheaper than a 250 quid advert on Total Jobs, which you have got no guarantee of who's going to come through that process. Is this making sense? Does anybody have any questions? Let me know in the chat. I would really love that. So over the next few weeks, what we're going to do is go over some of the key areas that I really encourage businesses to start taking more interest in. So we've got the first kind of layer of all of this would be recruitment foundation. So we're going to have a look at your company culture, core values, and your vision for your organization, because these are some really key areas that if we don't have this solidified right at the beginning, it can really have a detrimental impact to your recruitment process. Then we're going to have a look at job descriptions and advertising strategies. So I'm going to be giving you some simple tools that you can take away that you can start integrating into your organization. Then we're going to have a look at employer branding and go deeper on the subjects that we've gone deeper today, especially when it comes to your careers page. We're going to have a look at how to find candidates that aren't just on job boards. So I don't want job platforms to be the only source of you finding candidates. And LinkedIn, for me, is a great place to be able to find candidates that aren't just sat on job site or CV library. And then we're going to have a look at interviewing, offering, and rejecting candidates, because I feel like these are really key areas, and the kind of interviewing has changed a lot over the last few years. So I'm going to be able to show you different ways of how to interview a candidate that aren't just the same stuffy corporate competency-based interviews that we've got experience in. And then the final kind of training that I'm going to be doing is onboarding and training and retaining staff. This is probably the most important part. We need all of these different elements in the recruitment process and strategy, but without that kind of final part in terms of retention and how to really solidify that person into your organization, that's the missing piece that a lot of businesses don't really think about. You know, we can kind of offer someone a role. We've got a 4-week notice period. How often are we keeping in touch with that person to make sure that they've received everything that they need, that they're excited about the role? You know, 4 weeks is a long time to leave someone before they start a role with you. So we'll go all into that over the next few weeks. Now, if this is something that you want to explore more into, if you go onto my profile, there are 3 different ways. So there's a book appointment button on there. You can book a 15-minute free recruitment strategy call. You can book a power hour with me that's on my calendar link. And then also I've got a training course that kind of delves a lot deeper into the things that we're going through. Even if you don't invest into the course, the things that I'm going to teach you over the next few weeks, you can still take them away and integrate them into your business, and it will still make a big impact in terms of how you were doing recruitment versus how you can be doing recruitment. So yes, my first LinkedIn Live. Thank you so much for joining. I really do appreciate it. If you do want to get in touch, it's leanne@hargreavesrecruitment.com if you want to ask me any questions. And hopefully this is recorded, so I'll be able to share it with more people as well. So yes, thank you so much for investing your time. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you next week.